There are 4 stages that every online sports coach needs to go through in order to hit $100,000 a month with their online sports coaching business. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through those 4 stages, what they look like, the problems that they have in each situation, and then the solutions to break through the typical plateaus that I see. If this is your first time here, my name is Nick. I run an online coaching company where we help sports coaches achieve time and financial freedom by coaching athletes online so that way they can make more money, they can reach more athletes, have way more impact, and as a result of it, live a way better life full of freedom. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I got an absolute banger for you guys. Did a bunch of preparation. So without further ado, let's dive right in, okay? So what we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna walk through each of these stages and fill out these boxes as we go. I even made it easy for you, and I tried to color coordinate the currents, the problems, and the solutions, okay? So firstly, stage 1, $0 to $10,000 a month. Now, typically what this looks like is, you just started posting, essentially, right? You just started. You're very much a beginner. And you maybe have 10 athletes online, okay? Give or take. You probably sign up, maybe 1 or 2 athletes online a month, but your max around 10K a month. It's gonna be about 10 athletes, okay? And so really what the problems are, when you see somebody in this type of situation, it's almost entirely mindset, okay? Usually people that are in the 0 to 10K a month mark have what's called imposter syndrome, okay? They see people making, doing this full time, and they go, oh, I'm not sure if that could actually be me, right? Their beliefs are what hold them back. Their beliefs. They're not sure if they post more content or they do more of what's already gotten them a little bit of success. Is it actually going to lead to the results that I'm looking for? The problems are almost always mindset. But what that comes out like is usually you're scattered. And by scattered, I mean you don't really have a plan. You don't really have a direction. You're kind of just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And you're just hoping that something's gonna work, right? The solution to actually breaking through this $10,000 a month plateau, hitting your first $10,000, $15,000 a month, is one word: consistency. Consistency breeds confidence, right? And by being consistent, you're going to develop skills. You're going to develop competence. The only thing that you need to do to make $10,000 a month in a business is just sell things to people. Literally just do things for people for money. If you do that somewhat consistently, it doesn't even have to be super ultra consistent. A lot of people think you have to be super smart. You have to be a genius to make over $10,000 a month with an online business. It's not true. You don't really have to be that smart. You actually can be relatively dumb. You don't have to be special. You just have to be kind of consistent. You have to be dumb enough to be consistent and blindly take the actions every single day in order to get the outcome, right? And these things will be overcome by just being consistent with one specific thing. Okay, we're gonna go after one athlete, we're gonna have one offer, we're gonna have one program, we're not gonna get distracted, we're gonna make all our content for that one person. That is how you crack your first 10K month, okay? Once you crack your first 10K month, congratulations, you qualify for our scale program, right? Or even somewhere around 5 to 10K month. If you wanna learn more, obviously, about how you can work with me directly, you can check out the link in the description. However, once you crack your first 10K month, typically what this is gonna look like is you're likely on your own. Okay, maybe you have 10 to maybe even 30, I'm gonna abbreviate that, athletes, right? And you're probably charging $1 2K for your program. And that is usually all you're getting. Maybe you're signing up, I don't know, 3 to 5 new a month. Okay, and you're probably doing it full time at this stage. If you're not doing it full time when you're making at least $10,000 to $20,000 a month, you are leaving a ton on the table. Like I had a client inside of my program who was doing like 10 to 15K a month, was like afraid to quit his job, like was just holding on. Finally quits that 9 to 5 job because he realizes that his time is way better off spent just growing this, and then boom, does like a $20,000 week, right? Because he was holding himself back by not fully committing to it. So if you're at 0 to 10K a month, you're probably not doing it full time. If you're at 10 to 30K a month, that is when you're gonna have to, make that jump to say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do full time if you're working another job. Obviously, if you do in person and you do online, but you're making 20K a month online, you're probably not doing that in person. Your in person probably needs to take a little bit of a back seat and be more of the content driver for the online business, okay? Now, what are the biggest problems that people face in stage 2? Well, the first thing is that they're mispriced. Typically, they're way too cheap. Okay? The people that go from like 10K a month straight to like 50K a month have a really solid price point. They're charging premium prices, okay? Another thing, doing it all yourself. And you can't afford good talent. Okay? These are typically the problems that people run into, especially people that are like right around like the 15K a month mark. They're typically not charging enough. They are doing it all themselves. They're getting on calls with people, they're coaching their athletes, things like that. And this is where people will get stuck, is if they don't do this one thing, okay? And typically what that looks like is raising your prices. You're usually going to have to raise your prices, okay? Once you raise your price and you start increasing the total lifetime value of your athletes, AKA meaning when somebody signs up to work with you, how much money are they paying you until they leave your program? We need to get that to 3K plus minimum. If it's less than 3K, right, 1 to 2K, you're probably never gonna make 30 to 50K a month. It's gonna be incredibly difficult. You're gonna have to sign up like 20 new athletes a month or 30 new athletes a month, which there's only like a handful of people in my program that can do that. And they have really big followings, or the other way you could do it is by running a bunch of ads, but your ads aren't even gonna be profitable if you're not getting a lot of people, or if you're not increasing that lifetime value, okay? So once we raise our price, then typically what we're gonna have to do is make the first hire, okay? Make your first hire. You're either gonna have like a coach, you're gonna have somebody to help you set appointments, but in order to make that jump to like 30 to 50K a month and beyond, you're gonna need to have somebody to hire because your time becomes much better spent making content, taking sales calls, and getting your athletes really good results, building them out, resources, things like that. So you might have to have an assistant coach now. You might have to have an appointment setter to help you build this business, okay? So now you're making 30 to 50K a month. Well, guess what? If you were inside my coaching program, you would get a trophy and you'd get to present at our in-person mastermind. The next one's in Chicago in June. I'm actually basically throwing myself a birthday party. But we already got 2 speakers confirmed, one for 30K a month, the one who I just told the story about here, and then one for 50K a month, right? And so that client right now, I can even just walk you through their current situation, okay? They have 2, I'll even say 1 to 2 team members. Typically, you're gonna have 1 to 2 team members. You can do this all by your own, but you're gonna probably hate your life, okay? So you have 1 to 2 team members. You're probably charging, let's say, $2,500 to $4K, right? You get about 10 new athletes a month. Maybe you might be running ads. and if you're not running ads, you have a really big organic presence, you got lead gen pretty well figured out, right? You're getting people into the program here, okay? If you want to get to the 50 to 100K a month mark, typically what that looks like, or what your problems are, the biggest thing that I see is complacency, okay? The biggest problem that I see that holds people back from going from 30 to 50K a month to 50 to 100K a month is complacency. Because at this range, like let's say you only have a couple team members, you're spending like, okay, $3,000 a month on ads, let's say $7,000 a month on your team, maybe $1,000 on software, maybe if you have a lot of software, right? So we're spending $3K a month on ads, we're spending $8K a month on team, which would be a lot at this range. Okay, so that's $11,000, and then maybe $1,000 on software, $12,000. Let's say you're making $40K a month, right? You're netting 28 grand every single month coaching athletes online. It's very easy to get complacent. It's very easy to just do it, right? The other thing is now you become the big bottleneck. Okay, you are the big bottleneck, right? And oftentimes people run into LTV problems. What I mean by that is, okay, maybe they're signing up 10 new athletes a month at 4K or 3K, but they're not re-signing anybody. They don't have any back-end sales systems. They don't have any way to retain people in their program. Because here's the thing, you can do an amazing job for your athletes. Get every single one of them the result that you promised, and none of them re-sign. That might blow a lot of your minds, but it's possible. They might just be like, okay, I got the outcome, now I'm gonna go look for the next thing. So if you don't have a good system in place, they're just gonna fall out the back end. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my own business was not paying attention to the back end sales much earlier in the process. If I paid more attention to that when I first started, I'd probably be 3 times as big as I am right now inside my business. Obviously, maybe not as jacked, but you get what I'm trying to say, okay? So, what do we actually need to do to go from 30 to 50K a month to 50 to 100K a month, okay? Usually, you just need volume. Volume is usually the one thing holding you back from getting to stage 4, right? You need to post more content. Maybe you need to run more ads. Maybe you need to hire another coach. But once you kind of have lead gen and things like that figured out, you kind of just need to do more, and you need to start focusing on retention, okay? You need to start focusing on retention. Maybe you have a salesperson come in, right? However, once we get into the 50 to 100K a month mark and you want to see what happens to scale past 100K a month, you're going to need a much bigger team, okay? So, once we have, cracked our first $50,000 a month, congratulations, that's very impressive. We've worked with, maybe like 10 people that have made over $50,000 in a single month coaching athletes online. It's very impressive. You should be very proud of yourself if you ever get to this stage. It's not like, this is kind of when people will start to look at you a little bit differently, like in your friend groups. You might even start to see yourself a little bit differently. You're like, oh wow, I'm actually running a real business here. Like I'm a true business owner. Like this is for real. This is what I'm gonna do forever. You might start to get a little bit of an ego. Hopefully you pull that back as soon as you possibly can because you're actually a small fry, right? However, once we're here, it's very possible you have 1 team member, but most likely you have 2 to 4 people on your team. You have lead gen, right? Lead gen is figured out, okay? You're likely running ads, but at this rate, you're probably not doing coaching. You're probably not doing much coaching, okay? If you are, it's very little. If you are, it's very little, okay? Now, the biggest problem when you're at 50 to 100K a month, you lack systems. And I'll put tracking, okay? Most people who are at 50 to 100K a month, they just got there strictly because they were charismatic on camera, they're good salespeople, and they get their athletes great results, right? So they can just boom, 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 grow, but then you get to a place where you're not 100% sure what the numbers set. Like I'll get on calls with these people and be like, okay, like what's your show rate? What's your close rate? You know, how much cash do you collect? What's your lifetime value? They have no idea. Like what's your retention rate? Oh, if I had to guess, they have no idea, right? So you need to start to know your numbers, okay? Another thing, oftentimes, is the founder is too involved, okay? One of the biggest challenges, and like this is even something that I've made like scaling past 100,000 a month, is being too involved, not wanting to let go and actually letting the business grow. Because at that rate, if you want to go past 100K a month, you're a 7-figure business owner. Does a 7-figure business owner talk to every single one of his clients? Probably not. It's probably not possible. So like at this, if you want to go past even 50K a month or towards like 100, like past 100K a month, you're not going to know every single one of your clients personally. It's going to be very difficult for you. You might have some sort of relationship, but at this rate, you shouldn't be doing any coaching. And the things that hold people back in the 50 to 100K a month is that the founder is too involved. They're just like, they won't let go of control. Okay? And then obviously a lifetime value problem. We could always improve the lifetime value. But the solution here is the CEO or the founder needs to be a manager and a marketer. Okay? So this stage, 50 to 100K a month and scaling past it, the owner of the business, the face of the business, needs to turn into a manager and a marketer. They are probably not going to be taking the calls with the athletes coming into the program, right? They're not taking the sales calls. They're not really messaging people and setting appointments, right? They're probably not doing any coaching. If they are, it's very, very little. And they need to manage the people who are running the machine and then make sure that people keep coming in, right? If you want to run a $100,000 a month business plus $200,000 a month, you need a lot of volume coming in on the front end, right? You need a lot of volume coming in on the front end. Let's say your lifetime value for your program is $5,000, which is very realistic if you have a $3,000 coaching program on the front end, and then you have a $5,000 renewal for the year. 50% of people take that, let's say. Obviously, we would want it way higher than that. But let's say 50% of people take it. That's an additional $2,500. It's about $5,500 lifetime value. Let's just call it 5K to make it easy. If you want to make $100,000 a month, you got to sign up 20 new athletes every single month in order to sustain that run rate. So also if you're signing up 20 athletes every single month, that's 240 athletes, new athletes coming in the door every single year, right? So you need to ask yourself, like, can I fulfill on 240 new athletes within a calendar year and keep my mind and deliver a good service, right? And take all the sales calls to get them in? Probably not, right? So if you want to scale past $100,000 a month, you're going to need a sales team and you're going to need a coaching team, and you manage them. That is how you can actually scale past it. I have clients right now who are stuck in this range because they need to transition to the manager and the marketer, right? Before that, you can still be very involved at the 10 to even 50K a month mark, 30 to 100K a month. This is where a lot of people get stuck because the founder can't step out, be a manager, be a marketer. Here, 0 to 10K a month, you just need to do more. You just need to do the thing. You need to be consistent. You need to commit to it. If you do that, eventually it's going to work, right? People way dumber than you watching this video right now have made it work. I promise you can do it too. If you're 10 to 30K a month, right, you're probably mispriced. You're probably doing it all yourself. You need to raise your price, hire a team member. If it's 30 to 50K a month, you probably, if you're complacent and you've been stuck there for a while, it's probably just because you're not pushing yourself that much, right? If you're not complacent, you want to grow, right? You need more volume and you need to retain people, okay? If you want to scale past 50 to 100K a month, right? We need a system. We need to get the founder out of that system and not make the business reliant on them. So that way the founder turns into the manager and the marketer. Obviously, if you want my help scaling past any of these revenue numbers and you're a sports coach, you want to train more athletes online, then go ahead, click the link in the description, check that out. We can work with you one-on-one. We do one-on-one calls. We have an entire community. We have an entire training program, blah, 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 blah. There's a bunch of great stuff. If you want to check it out, click the link in the description. If you just want to keep watching for free on YouTube, that's cool too. That's why I make these videos, so that way you guys can actually learn for free here on my channel. Anyway, hopefully this is super valuable for you guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.